Hello all. I would like to welcome you all to our webinar about applying agile practices with distributed teams today. So I'll not be lecturing, but I'll be sharing our experience and our practices during 45-minute session. So due to the limited time frame, we will not be able to do a question and answer session, but please don't hesitate to send your questions during the webinar via the tool or send email to the contacts, which will be shown at the end of this presentation. So let me introduce myself. My name is Sevgi Onay, and I'm group manager in ICterra. I'm managing distributed teams that provide remote software development services using agile practices. I'm electronics and communication engineer with 17 years of experience in software telecommunication sectors as a part of R&D and support organizations. I'm also a certified Kepner-Traeger coach, which is a role of mentoring for structured problem-solving methodologies. So we as ICterra are a committed software engineering company with a Siemens legacy. Our history dates back to 1991, and we have been providing remote software development services to product and solution companies of varying sizes since then. We have become ICterra in 2013 as a result of management buyout, and we have been growing both with our existing customers and new ones. We comply with the necessary industry standards such as CMMI, ISO 9001, ISO 27001, and also been investing in the new ones relevant to the verticals we are serving, such as ISO 13485, which we are planning to receive this year. We are a fast-growing company and rapidly progressing to become an international player in software services area. Of course, being part of the ecosystem is very important to us. So as a Bavarian company ourselves, we are a member of Medical Valley and Bavaria and trying to keep good relationships with other clusters and agencies. So having said that, I would like to thank Standortagentur Tirol and especially Mr. Roland Fuchs for organizing this event. So as ICterra, today about 250 engineers and offices in Germany, United Kingdom and Turkey, we are providing services in safety, mission and business critical domains such as medical and healthcare, avionics and automotive. As I just mentioned, we develop our software to comply with the rules and regulations which are required by industry standards. Working in various industries has been giving us the chance to apply a best practice observed in one industry to other industries. And agile development practices has been one of the best practices within ICterra. So today we are utilizing a subset of agile practices, even in critical domains, such as medical. Working with distributed teams for more than 25 years, we have been continuously evaluating and improving our organization, our processes, tools, and our approach. And today I'll be sharing some of these tested and proven methods and hoping you to give you tips and clues to help you improve your own way of distributed working. So our main is to focus on working with remote and distributed teams for agile software development. We'll be starting with the basic concepts of agile, and then I will continue with distributed agile software development, the challenges and the ways to overcome. So in between the lines, I'll be mentioning the deviation from the classical agile practice to overcome these obstacles. So agile is the ability to create and respond to change in uncertain and turbulent environment. So with this ability of being flexible and acting fast to the changes, it is possible to eliminate the risk of a failure, which would happen at the end of the project, which is introduced in an early phase with a small mistake. Agile software development is an umbrella term for a set of methods and practices based on the values and the principles expressed in Agile Manifesto. The solutions evolve through collaboration between self-organizing, cross-functional teams, utilizing the appropriate practices for their context. So, Agile Manifesto, well, the communities are searching for better ways of developing software and put this manifesto together. The Agile Manifesto states 4 values and 12 principles of Agile software development. The core values are individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software product over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is a value in the items on the right-hand side, we also value the items on the left-hand side more. Having said that, while adapting the change in order to succeed, the following should not be done: to stop planning, to stop producing documents, to provide poor quality, to change the requirements unlimitedly, or to embrace one-size-fits-all approach. So these are the 12 principles based on 4 core values in the manifesto. In a few words, they are customer satisfaction, welcoming change, frequent delivery, working together, motivated individuals, face-to-face conversation, working software, sustainable pace, technical excellence, simplicity, self-organizing team, and continuous inspect and adapt. So there are a lot of online materials to get more information and guidance when to use Agile. Project groups using Agile may have one or more reasons to use Agile, but in a few words, when the final product is not clearly defined, when the stakeholders need to be able to change the scope, when changes need to be implemented continuously, when the developers are adaptable and can think independently, when you need to optimize for rapid deployment, then you should use Agile. So when Agile is the best, the market becomes more competitive each day. So the change speed of the technology increases day by day. In order to get a share in the market, exist in the business, then you need to be fast, flexible, and adaptive in order to catch up the changes and fulfill the wishes of the consumers. When you have a creative project or a new project design, or a project having critical business timing, a project having uncertain or changing requirements, or especially a project introducing a new technology, then Agile is the best way of working. Agile will bring you the flexibility, speed, and the quality that your project requires. Let's give some examples of Agile methodologies in a few words. Extreme programming. So rather than delivering everything that the customer could ever want, it gives them what they need now with short development cycles. Dynamic systems development method. It focuses on the full project lifecycle, also has a fundamental assumption that as long as the most important 20% of requirements are implemented in the system, then the system therefore meets the business needs, which is also known as Pareto principle. Lean Kanban. In Lean, there is continuous improvement by eliminating long value-added processes. There's just-in-time production. Kanban brings visuality and describes which and how many parts are used where and when. Feature-driven development. Main purpose is to deliver tangible working software repeatedly in a timely manner. It is driven from feature perspective, and a feature can be defined as customer valued functionality. Scrum. Based on the 13th Annual State of Agile report, Scrum is the most common Agile methodology used with 54% ratio. And Scrum is the methodology we currently practice at our project. Therefore, I'll be giving more information about Scrum in the following slides, not the methodology in details, but the way how we just adjust. And as a side note, Scrum has more management than extreme programming. It is more product-centered than dynamic systems development method, and it is less process-focused than Lean. Scrum, it's a framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems while productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible value. Scrum is a hands-on system consisting of simple interlocking steps and components. So Scrum is lightweight. It's easy to understand, but it's difficult to master. And Scrum values are commitment, courage, focus, openness, and respect. Since it's the most preferred Agile methodology, there are a lot of online materials detailing the methodology, the roles, the responsibilities, the meetings, and the process flows. So, as I said, very detailed information can be gathered online. So in this section, I'll be talking about some tools and techniques for collaboration, estimation, planning, monitoring and adapting, and the product quality. Since we are practicing Scrum, our examples will be specific to Scrum methodology. So collaboration can be achieved by good communication, good coordination, and the same understanding of the goals, having a team culture, including the awareness of differences. Let's get to more details. For communication, there is a need of tools, face-to-face meetings and workshops. There should be a team space that the information is shared. For collocated teams, there is also automatic communication. It means that the information flows into the background, hearing of the members of the team, so that they pick up the relevant information as though by osmosis. Daily stand-ups is another way to communicate and become synced with all the team members of the Scrum team. It is a good way to evaluate the current situation and remove obstacles to complete the work. In order to be in sync with the team and keep them updated about the current status of the project, the visual display of the project should be present. Big visible charts as known as information radiator. The information should be easily accessible and available for all the members. As an example, even posting, definition of done, or sprint board can be considered as information radiators. Coordination is another key action for achieving collaboration. For collocated teams, different working hours may not be in the picture, but for distributed teams, different time zones should be taken into consideration and appropriate actions should be taken. In order to have a good collaboration, organizational charts should be prepared and shared. It's important that the roles are well understood by the team in order to prevent any delays in the process. And online sessions need to be performed in order to be in sync with all the team members. It is required especially for distributed teams. Culture. It should be considered as a part of the communication. So additional to the culture of individuals, team culture should be built up based on open communication with explaining the necessity of each action and clarification of uncertainties. The roadmap of the project should be visible and the awareness should be accomplished. The trust within the team should be built up as a part of team culture as well. Members feeling trusted, who sees the clear roadmap, will be more eager to contribute and share the same targets. Estimation of the task can be given by different measurements. It can be given with actual hours, story points, or t-shirt sizes. All of them are dependent to the individuals in the team structure, and development environment. So as an example, one story point can be considered as 3 days for one team, but it can be 5 days for another one. So it is dependent to the team experience and team characteristics. So we'll be talking about some examples of the tools that can be used for planning, monitoring, and adapting. Sprint Kanban board. So both are used as visual presentation to track the progress of the specified tasks. Burn down chart. Visual measurement tool that shows the completed work per day against the projected rate of completion. The rate of progress of a Scrum team is called velocity. It expresses the amount of work, for example, story points completed per iteration per sprint. Sprint report. It shows the list of issues completed and not completed in each sprint with the graphical details of the total estimation and total effort. So to observe and sustain the product quality, 3 key actions can be mentioned here. Definition of done, continuous integration, and frequent validation and verification. So definition of done is the list of actions and steps that need to be taken by the team in order to call a work as complete. So considering that the output of each sprint is desired to be a product which can be deployed at customer side, then DoD should define all the conditions or acceptance criteria and the standard steps and actions to develop and produce the product with desired quality, which is also ready to be accepted by a user, customer, or a team. So definition of done can be enhanced according to the project and customer needs. Inconsistency or misunderstanding for the definition of done within the team may cause some rework and also quality issues. So definition of done should be defined clearly and should be respected and well understood by each member of the team. So DoD differs for levels or organizations. So I can give an example for development team. So implementation is complete with required development tests, which can be units and fitness. Code review is done. Automated and manual tests have been performed. It can be tracked via Jira. Implementation is available on source control, and the required status flow at the relevant tool has been followed. So here's an example for Jira status flow. It can start with open, continue with in progress, and if any issues happen, it can put on hold and then go back to in progress, and then starting of the code review, it can go to in review state, resolved and in test, and closed at the end. So as stated, it's an example and it can be enhanced with other tools for code review, versioning, issue and test tracking. And it's worth to emphasize that definition of done becomes even more important for distributed teams. So continuously integrate the work to the entire solution throughout the iteration. So don't wait until the end of each iteration. Iteration for integration can be done daily, which is mostly preferred, or even more frequent or less. It is also important to have a fast integration environment, and it's very important to maintain it. Especially for distributed teams, it becomes even more important to take action in the case of any failure in order not to block any other developer to integrate their work. So daily basis builds can be produced. With these daily based builds, it will be possible to eliminate the risk of a failure, which will happen at the end of the project, which is caused by a small mistake in an early phase. So here's an example of a basic configuration, which can be done with the following tools with configuration management support. So for code repository, it can be used Git. Continuous integration, Jenkins. Code review, Fisheye, Crookable, or Garrett. Task management, Jira. Documentation, Confluence. So there's an important note here. Configuration management system and approach should be prepared at the beginning of the project with the project kickoff. Continuous tests can be done by test or development teams within each sprint. So in order to increase the efficiency, productivity, and quality, test automation should be included as much as possible. But please be aware that including test automation does not mean that manual tests should be discarded from the validation and verification process. So including both manual and automated testing processes will increase the product quality and decrease the customer tickets related to the quality. Here is a possible setup. So included unit tests, code review, fitness tests to the definition of done are also a part of the validation and verification process. Scheduled daily based tests with daily builds. Scheduled automated tests with continuous integration after each build. So depending on the project requirements and the structure, basic configuration can differ. And here is another example. So having a few days to perform additional tests, plan and analyze for the next sprint. Setting up release candidate time periods and performing tests at predefined time frames. And daily based testing with daily builds. So distributed, why are we doing this? Regardless of the size of the team, distribution of software development is becoming the preferred structure to reduce the cost, to have access to the bigger pool of skilled resources, to have a closer proximity to market and customer, to have a fail-safe process and development, even in the case of a catastrophic event. So for distributed software development, there are many diversities and challenges on many levels. Here are some challenges that I'll be addressing. Communication, especially for the teams on different time zones and different native language. Cultural differences, which will also affect the individual behavior as well as the teams. People versus process-oriented control means the discrepancy between agile approach and distributed development. Knowledge transition and documentation, which can be an issue for distributed teams. So spreading the knowledge, conveying information can be addressed under communication as well. Team structure and organization hierarchy, team cohesion, and dependency between teams. Distributed software development requires efficient communication via communication channels. So the efficiency of the communication may affect the productivity, even the product quality. So the first challenge is different time zones and working hours. If the business cannot apply flexible hours, business hours, in order to increase overlapping hours, then there are some actions that can be taken, which can also be considered as a general workaround for communication issues. So scheduling the meetings at overlapping hours and shifting them periodically, maybe just to be fair. So as an example, a regular meeting is conflicting one team's lunch break, but there is no open slot to schedule the meeting which is not conflicting any team's lunch break of off hours. For that situation, shifting back and forth the meeting schedule periodically will be the fair action for all the teams than scheduling it for a fixed time. So each team will be sacrificing with the same ratio. Delegation of work. For the situation that there is no overlapping hours or very few that is not sufficient, then delegation of work is required, which means that having a spokesman for each team or structure that may provide updates and also be the representative of each team member. The spokesman should be a member who is closely in contact with the team, who has up-to-date information with all the aspects. Agile Manifesto emphasizes face-to-face communication for co-located small teams, but with distributed Agile development, the necessity of tool usage for communication is arising. It is very essential to create a platform for open discussion, question and answer, and know-how share. The preferred communication tool or channel may differ based on the other obstacles and challenges, like overlapping hour limitations or language barrier. Distributed teams are generally geographically separate at different countries, which will bring the foreign language as a challenge. Not communicating with native language may bring some misunderstandings and uncertainties. Removing the language barrier will increase the effectiveness of the communication and the team coherence. Communication may be synchronous or asynchronous. Especially the asynchronous communication will be beneficial for the teams having few or non-overlapping hours. So in order to be synchronized and continue the work as planned, asynchronous communication becomes even more important. As said, communication tools usage for distributed teams is essential. So the channels and tools to achieve sync and async communication can be instant messaging, audio and video conferencing, email, even the knowledge management tools like Confluence, Wiki, or Jira. In addition to that, effective use of communication tools will also make pair programming possible, which is considered effective only for co-located teams. To increase the communication and its efficiency, trainings can be organized or facilitated. In order to have a better communication and remove its barriers, language, remote working principles, problem-solving related trainings can be arranged for the team members. So reliable, globally accessible, and maintainable information sharing mechanism and system is required for experience, knowledge, and documentation sharing, also to utilize and benefit from the value that each team member brings. Maintaining the repositories to preserve and spread the knowledge, experience, skills are essential for distributed teams and environments. It is vital to use tools and preserve and spread the knowledge. So before, as an example, before the transformation to Agile, management of documentation was performed with Word and email. But after the transformation to Agile, documentation tools like Wiki, Confluence, even Jira are started to be used for documentation and knowledge sharing. So practices about meetings. In short words, meeting as required with only required people for each instance. Getting feedback and adjusting as necessary. Ad hoc mixed meetings can be scheduled as well. Also, please keep in mind that meeting notes will also eliminate the communication issues and prevent misunderstandings. Cultural differences. So culture differs in many aspects, even for both national and organizational cultures, which may cause some communication challenges. Culture may affect the behavior of individuals or the team, such as for cultures valuing hierarchy may wait to be told what to do or work on. The team members of the culture less valuing hierarchy are usually goal-oriented and eager to take responsibility and initiatives. All the team members should be aware that having distributed teams, especially at different geographical locations, may bring cultural differences at many aspects. Raising awareness of the cultural diversity and understanding the differences. Having knowledge share and managing the language barriers will help them to eliminate this challenge item. On top of the national culture of each individual, it's worth to mention the importance of building up the team culture again. So in order to share the same goal, contribution, improvement, then team culture with visible roadmap is very essential. People versus process-oriented control. So formal processes are deemed to be essential for the success in distributed software development, but Agile approach values people over process and establishes the control over informal processes. So it's very essential to keep it in balance and have continuous process improvements, adjustments with the current needs. So in order to provide better control and transparency, we had some adjustments and introduced some meetings for our project. The following meeting examples do not exist in Agile practices, but we considered them as the process adjustments and for our distributed Agile teams. The first one is project status meeting. So status meetings are a good way of communication for key stakeholders to foster awareness about up-to-date information about the organization and project and the challenges for each team. A summary report about what was achieved the previous week, which deviations from the plan occurred, which measures are taken, and what is planned for the current week can be the items in this meeting. This meeting also helps with keeping your teams informed about project mission and goals regularly. Status meetings can be conducted weekly or bi-weekly according to the usual sprint length. Sprint pre-planning meeting. So according to and based on our experience regarding sprint planning within a geographically distributed Agile teams, it is not an effective way of doing sprint planning if there are a high number of Scrum teams and members, because the planning might need some detailed discussions among the team, and considering all teams together, this can cause some waste of effort for the others and lack of focus. So instead of this, sprint pre-planning sessions can be conducted with the key stakeholders to agree for the high-level plan before sprint planning meeting. Product owner sync meeting. So it's a synchronization meeting between the product owners and requirement definition team members. The change of customer needs, requests may change, and this meeting is a chance to distribute it to the requirement team in an efficient way. Also, this meeting can be used to convey the preliminary analysis results provided by the definition team to the product owner to communicate and negotiate with the customer for the better solution. Next one is leadership meeting. So it's a synchronization meeting between Scrum Masters, leaders, and managers. It can be used to get up-to-date information about the organizations, customers, and high-level information or changes for the project. So these are some examples of the meetings that we introduced to our process, which do not exist in Agile. As well as having continuous improvements and adjustments, you need to trust but verify. So in order to keep a level of control, trust but verify practice should be applied. In order to ensure that the practices have acceptable quality, distributed team efforts and outputs during each iteration should be observed by organization members transparently. Team organization hierarchy. So not having the required structure of team and organization may cause process failures, miscommunications, long production times resulting in low quality product with unsatisfied customer experience. Team and organization should be structured as required by the nature of the project, and it needs to be understood clearly by the whole team in order to have an efficient process and quality product as the outcome. In the case of needs, new roles with the organization should be introduced, as well as removing the unnecessary ones. So different roles and hats can be assigned depending on the requirements and the current status. So let me give you some examples from our project. So we introduced global vendor support for ticket handling, sustaining version planning, and prioritizing, as well as creating some internal tools. Another example is including testers to our development Scrum teams to increase software quality and decrease impact of an error. Even the testers are members of Scrum teams. They are both bonded to the QA team, quality assurance team of the project, and they are in constant cooperation. Another example, technical product owner. So for our project, technical product owner became very essential for our project due to the size of the project, increasing number of the requirements, number of releases and technologies. TPOs are working collaboratively with product owners, Scrum Masters, definition team, and feature owners. They are responsible for product refinement, hosting per-planning meeting, story prioritization in the product backlog with project owners, project managers, definition and feature owner. As mentioned in the examples, adjustments are performed based on the project and team needs. Dependency between teams. Teams may require some work to be completed by a separate team in order to proceed with their assigned tasks. It's a challenge for co-located teams, and it becomes even more for distributed organizations. So in order to overcome the possible delays caused by the waiting period for completion of the other team's work, adaptations can be performed and regular updates can be gathered. For example, embedded teams developing software may not work synchronized with the hardware team for a customized hardware design and manufacture. When the teams are in different locations, increasing delays may encountered. So hardware simulators can be used by software development team to achieve the goal of the iteration. Continuous communication is required to get up-to-date information, and adjusting the environment is essential to prevent delays. Building up the team cohesion in distributed teams is more challenging than building it for co-located teams. So team members in distributed teams are more inclined to be individuals instead of being a part of the big team and share the same goal. So lack of cohesiveness may bring productivity and quality issues in constant cooperation requiring agile development. So building up the team culture is a way to increase team cohesion, which should be started with building trust that can be achieved by open communication, transparency, and interaction. It is very essential to make each individual team member feeling a part of the greater team by getting their input, getting and providing feedback, and letting them to take part in decision making. It is important to increase the awareness of the roadmap, which will also motivate the team members to contribute more. As well as providing feedback, appreciating the good work, or providing the assistance whenever it is asked is also supportive action. Encouragement like providing technical or soft skill trainings, rewarding, or appreciation increases the team cohesion as well. So periodical face-to-face meetings like project kickoff or workshops, or introducing new team members to the big team, and scheduling team building activities will also support and increase team cohesion. So here, I want to share an overall picture, which is showing how we are working remotely as distributed teams. So project management team defines the project backlog. Core meeting takes place, which is to discuss high priority issues, critical topics, to discuss milestones and create the upcoming sprint content partially for the whole project. So the prioritization list is one of the outputs of core meeting. It is the list of issues ordered from high to low priority, which must be included to the release and also to the sprint. This list is used as the main material for the sprint pre-planning meeting. Each Scrum Master reviews the list and makes a preliminary planning for their own Scrum team before the sprint pre-planning meeting. Afterwards, All product owners, TPOs, Scrum Masters attend to sprint pre-planning meeting to plan the scope for each Scrum team and make sure that the necessary items are picked up by Scrum teams in order to achieve sprint goal and project milestones. Sprints for our project are 2 weeks long, so during each sprint, daily Scrum meetings taking place. Development and tests are working in collaboration. At the end of each sprint, Scrum team retrospective takes place, asking the necessary questions to improve the process and the productivity. So these 2 questions can be adaptive questions as well. So what did we do well? What could we have done better? What are the action items to do our work better? After team retrospective for the previous sprint, global sprint review, retrospective and planning session takes place. Scrum Masters are the spokesmen for each Scrum team, but the rest of the team members are also encouraged to speak up and share their thoughts, plans, and ideas. For sprint review, each issue that cannot be completed during the sprint are considered as carryover for the next sprint or going back to the product backlog. Sprint review, retrospective, and planning meetings are held in a combined meeting for the global team. With these meetings, sprint scope is defined for each Scrum team. After this global meeting, the planning for the upcoming sprint is done for each Scrum team internally, and each team member can review the tasks, comment, and take a part in the assignment. So, lessons learned. Find the most efficient way to communicate. So, as said, communication is very essential for distributed teams. The rest will come after achieving open, transparent communication. Use as many tools as you need. Take the benefits of synchronous and asynchronous communication and make people connected. Find the most efficient ways for your team to communicate and be a part of the big team. Observe team dynamics and take required actions. Observe your team and make sure that the organization is well understood. Introduce new roles in the case of any need and remove the ones which are not needed. Be flexible and always look for improvement. Just be flexible and perform process adjustments. Get rid of the ineffective ones and bring the new ones. If the newly introduced ones are not effective, just change them. Remove all the infrastructure obstacles getting the work done. So provide the required technical infrastructure, tools, environments that will make the work and spreading the knowledge easy. So provide collaborative development environment. And increase team cohesion and build up team culture. Make every team member of the team be a part of the global one. Build team culture with open communication. Trust your team. Share up-to-date information and encourage them to be a part of the progress. Remember, each team individual has contribution to achieve the goal, so be supportive and encouraging. And also, don't forget to be a part of the team yourself as well. So, thank you all for joining our webinar today. I hope I was able to share some of our experience with you that you could get some clues to apply to your practices as well. So for any questions, please write us. And I wish you a very good day and hope to see you next time.